So GTA 6's publisher said that games should be priced by the hour. I was about to have an overly emotional reaction, but I don't have to worry because that's not what they actually said. Price is about the relationship between what you get per hour, how many hours you can expect to get, and what you perceive to be the overall value of the thing you're playing. That sounds okay. But let me be clear, he still thinks that games are underpriced, which is... But it got me thinking, am I getting my money's worth out of all the games I play? No, absolutely not. I have games that I've bought that I've never even downloaded before. And what's worse is that I have a crippling condition that makes me play games past the refund cutoff of 2 hours on Steam. But that's just my Steam library. Let's look at the PS5. My mind is full of poison. All of this has left me feeling like I stepped on shit on purpose. It smelled like shit. It looked like shit. That is definitely human feces. So why did I step in it? Was it special? Was the fact that it was outside a toilet bowl amusing? Did I think it was a chest full of loot and inside it were premium coffee beans shit out by cats? That definitely couldn't be it. It was far too large to be sourced by animal. The trap seemed to be laid by something human or larger. How devious and evil. Yeah, this happened in real life. I was stupid. I should have known better. It's left a brown stain on my soul that won't wash off no matter how much I try. So anyway, this video is about feeling guilty because of games.
Money!
Buy a game, play it for a few hours, put it down, maybe you didn't even download it in the first place. Uh-oh, that cost $90. Then buy another game and repeat the cycle. Each time, I choose to ignore the guilt. And each time, it grows stronger. It all just sits there and wastes away. I grew up in an Asian household, so I feel a primal instinct to get my money's worth out of every situation. If I actually got that one hypothetical where if you drop kick a baby, you get $1 million. Look, I can pay the hospital bill, so how hard do you want me to... Most of the time when I stop playing a game early, I feel like that's on me, because whether they were good or bad, when I look at it in my library again, I assume that I just got distracted, and then into the backlog they go. It's like I didn't even want to give the game a chance. But then there's the situation where I finish a game, and I just think it's plain bad. And at that point, the onus can no longer be on me. The game's let me down. I've given both time and money to it. And it wasn't exactly worth it, but it sure was an experience. But now that it's over, it's done. For good. But there will always be a part of my mind that's telling me, you spent money on this. But still, backlog guilt is probably worse. It lingers. That's scary. All of that makes me think, at what point do I stop feeling guilty? At what point have I reached the threshold where the price of a game matches the value I set for it in my head? Someone with a background in commerce could probably quantify it, but I'm stupid. I'm gonna try to do it based on vibes. If we follow the bits laid out in the article again, price is about the relationship between what you get per hour, how many hours you can expect to get, and what you perceive to be the overall value of the thing you're playing. Since a game's price should allegedly be adjusted according to these measures, well, I guess if they don't match up, then I haven't gotten my money's worth. Let's look at the first statement. Price is partially determined by what we get per hour. I'm kind of assuming that the what in the sentence refers to getting something good every hour. So, more expensive games should have more good content per hour than less expensive games. Okay, by itself, Mr. CEO? That already sounds wrong. But let's apply it to a game anyway. You get a lot of good content with this game. The swinging, beating up criminals, enjoying the story. And it would be great if it was like that the entire way through, but then suddenly... Very slow, very boring, bad rhythm game. Why? When I played through the game the first time around, I really didn't mind that it was there. In fact, I thought it was pretty neat. A nice little section to help space out the main game. But then I played through the game a second time and thought, damn, it's kinda long. And less fun. This definitely isn't the what that I thought I was getting. Does this look like main story content? And also, I know all video games are just pressing buttons, but goddamn, couldn't you have just made this section like slightly faster? Look me in the eyes and tell me that this isn't less what? It just makes it feel like I'm getting too much of nothing when I could have gotten something more. So while it is content, it's filler content where nothing happens. I just wanted more of this, and instead I got bike and the basketball. It was like twiddling my thumbs waiting for the dentist as a kid, something to do with my hands so I don't get too bored when I've got nothing else to do. And then we have the science minigames and the foundation, the spider bot section at the start of the game, and then the fucking carnival. I feel like you can just trim some of these and then make it side content. You know, when I actually want to take a break from Spider-Manning, and then convert the character building and story parts that actually matter into shorter cutscenes, and it would have been okay. It just feels really bad when I do side content for hours, and when I'm finally ready for more main story content, I get hit with stuff that feels like more side content. But Spider-Man 2 is a good game, and I'm not trying to say that that's the entire game, but it definitely has enough for it to get annoying. So it doesn't have enough filler to completely and utterly crush me into guilt, like Garten of Banban. Fellas, if you've been hit with the patented anti-refund mechanic, then you've been ban-banned. Okay, let's look at another AAA game. Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush has zero bullshit. It's DMC meets rhythm game meets goofy cartoon. It's just amazing. You go through multiple stages where it's just non-stop hack and slash, jam to the beat fuckery. It ends up being about half the length of Spider-Man 2, but I can confidently say that I would rather play through Hi-Fi Rush 4 more times than sit through the padding sections in Spider-Man again. Then when you compare the price tag, in Australian dollars, Hi-Fi Rush is about $69 cheaper than Spider-Man 2. Then when you factor in that it's on the Game Pass for $1 sometimes, it's now $113 cheaper. Yeah, so in my experience, I got more per hour from Hi-Fi Rush, and it's cheaper. So comparing the two, well, I feel like I got my worth from Spider-Man 2, I definitely got way more from Hi-Fi Rush. But then again, Hi-Fi Rush is only about 11 to 13 hours. But that does bring us nicely into... how many hours can you expect to get? We don't want to break things just yet, so let's exclude games with near infinite replayability like Terraria and Minecraft, and basically all roguelikes. My favorite game, Persona 5 Royal, took me 110 hours to beat. Most games are a 20 to 40 hour experience, so considering this, if its price was scaled, I'd die. But thank God, because that isn't the case. But looking at the flip side, shorter games should be cheaper. That doesn't happen with AAA games. Unless you're Hi-Fi Rush. The games that are around 10 hours long are usually priced the exact same as those that are 20 hours or more. But something I've noticed with some of them is that there's usually less fluff, so it feels like the content's more dense. So I guess it balances out? You get more per hour from shorter games, but you can expect less hours from it, in an ideal world. So I guess it makes sense that they're the same price, right? No. When you mix in indie games, it sort of breaks down. So you're saying this game is longer, has more per hour, and is super cheap. What the fuck? Okay, so then this price gap is insane. It makes next-gen games look like the supreme of gaming. Where does the money go? Graphics, load times, mocapping, the same 5 voice actors, how good the rumble on the controller feels, I don't know. I guess it's all things you can only do if you're a huge company with a big budget. Like, look, it's nice and all, but frankly, I don't give a shit. All of that is around $90, and I already paid $700 for the PS5. Is that normal? I can see how some of the mechanics in next-gen games require next-gen hardware, but then you have some AAA games, and then the indie inspirations that play similarly, but are also just as good and end up being cheaper. With the only difference being, if I were to put these two games in my mouth, which one would give me more cuts? I don't know, maybe I'm just taking it for granted and someone can quantify how much exactly hardware capabilities should cost to be worth it. But I don't have the brains for that. Just the thought of me spending $114 on a game will always fill me with immense guilt, but maybe I'm stingy. I still don't regret buying Spider-Man 2. The PS5 though. I spent enough time playing Spider-Man 2 for it to quell the guilt from the $114 hole it left. But it's also why having a backlog feels so bad for me. Because if I don't spend enough time on the game, it feels like going to your grandma's for Christmas dinner only to finish about this much. Have more. No. That's fucked up, dude. Backlog guilt is like a dot where you take tick damage that activates whenever you go to buy something new and whenever you see it again when scrolling through your library. But you can harness it to push you forward to finish off games you actually enjoyed but dropped. It's what I did. One day I woke up, had nothing to do, looked at the Steam store and then thought, fuck, I'm doing it again. So I went to my library, looked at a bunch of the games that were collecting dust and thought, it's time. The first one took a while, but it was worth it, and it was good. And then after that, I played the next. I finished that one as well. And now I'm playing the next one. So, honestly, it's actually pretty easy. You really just have to keep on going, sit down, and commit. And if it was meant to be, you'll finish the game. Just remember that whatever you do, enjoy your time with it. This last one gets pretty weird, but it's probably the most important. What you perceive to be the overall value of the game you're playing. But like, what does value even mean here? How good it is? That's pretty subjective. Then is it the stuff I talked about before, like realistic graphics and the big budget quality? Because if so, then that's extremely corporate. And if that is what you mean, again, are you sure that alone is worth $90? If yes, then perceive this, GTA 6 publishing CEO. A game's value changes from person to person, and also, the you in that sentence isn't actually you. It's the company that made the game. Because consumers don't decide the price of games, and a lot of the time, big companies just like to slap that $90 to $114 price tag on no matter what they think a game's value is. It's pretty weird, but let's try putting everything together. I get a lot from Hi-Fi Rush per hour, and I perceive its overall value to be equal to, if not greater than something like Spider-Man 2. But I can also expect only about half of the hours of Spider-Man 2, so it's priced at around $45. That makes sense, but a lot of the time it doesn't. Gollum game. Someone looked at this and thought, $79? That seems about right. The guy who did that? Let's do a fun little mental exercise. Can you perceive how far your own head is up your own ass? For another example, Honkai Star Rail. Like the CEO said, if price is dependent on value, then free-to-play games must be pretty ass. I like this game though. I think it's pretty good. All for the low price of free. If you want it to be. I like playing it, so it's been worth it ever since I spent $0 on it. Does that make it the best game ever? No, but it's really good for what it's worth, which is still nothing. It's just a chill game I like to play when I don't want to do anything else. But then there's this fun little thing free-to-play games do, which are called dailies. They basically tax your time. You have to log in every single day so you don't miss resources, so you can do the content. I played Genshin for a year, and man was that just horrible, because each day it was maybe like 15 to 20 minutes of tedious bullshit that I could not handle, so I just stopped. So even though it's free, is it really worth playing if it takes up time you could have spent doing something better? Taking that question and applying it to Honkai Star Rail, I think it is, because they made it like so much easier. Look at this. That's basically all I have to do for the day. The game lets me not do the parts I don't want to do, and instead I can play the actual game. Nurturing an extremely unhealthy and crippling gambling addiction. For free. The thing is, I actually like all the content in this game that isn't part of the daily grind. So opening the game when I need to kill 5 minutes in a day is not that much of an ask. But you could still be playing something better. I don't care. I know this will seem very silly given what I've been doing for the past 15 minutes, but use guilt as an indicator when buying games. My guilt is my conscience saying that I fucked up, and I've realized that I really should listen to my conscience. If in your heart you know that a game's value does not match up with its price, you will feel that special feeling when you press that checkout button. But also, don't be like me. You will drive yourself crazy. Which I probably should have realized before I started using a random quote from a random article to measure whether a game is worth it. Anyway, listen, I'm not gonna narc on you if you bought 20 games for 10% off during the winter Steam sale. I've long since accepted the fact that I'll be spending a lot of money on games for the rest of my life, but I've made sure that the guilt always grounds me so I don't do anything too severely damaging. So while you can still use a gaming article to justify if a game is worth so the guilt will stop, you shouldn't. You should just do stuff that you enjoy, and once you've bought something, unless you can refund it, just accept that you spent money on it and move on. If it's a game in your backlog, just, eventually you'll play it. There is no true way to determine if the experience matched what you paid. When it comes to any type of media, whether something is worth it to experience depends on the person, and they can come to any conclusion they want to, even if they're wrong.